Welcome to the Tech That Connects Us. Today, your host is me, Laurie Scott, alongside Tom Wilding, who works alongside me here at Neuco. We're delighted to be joined today by a friend, Omar Qaise, who is the CEO and founder of OQ Technology. Omar is somebody we've known for a number of years. He's very well known in the circuit. He brings tremendous experience and heritage to the venture for many years in different organisations and enterprises within satellite and telecommunications. So Omar's worked with big organisations, worked with the likes of ESA, the DLR, and OHB Systems, low Earth orbit, to telecommunications satellites, to the big geo satellites for deep space missions. Today, Omar is the founder and CEO of OQ Technology, which is a really exciting international NewSpace customer-focused startup based in Luxembourg, but they're building a global 5G LEO satellite constellation dedicated to the IoT communication, providing connectivity in remote places as well as rural areas. So, Omar, welcome to the show. Delighted to have you on the podcast finally.
Good morning, Laurie. Good morning, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here and meet you.
Excellent. Absolute pleasure. So, Omar, I know we were just talking offline, but quite a big year for you, both personally and professionally. So, become a father, and then obviously had the OQ first satellite launch. So, huge congratulations to you, your family, and the team.
Yeah, thank you very much, Laurie. Yeah, indeed, it's been a very interesting year, actually, where a lot of events took place. So one of them is, of course, becoming a father, birth of my child, my boy, Ayan, and also the launch of our first commercial 5G IoT satellite, Tiger 2, where we did engrave Ayan's name on the satellite. Brilliant. That was a nice gift from Nanoavionics. Thanks to Chilbinas and the guys at Nanoavionics for doing that. That was the brightest gift. And yeah, these two big events actually mean a lot to me. And I'm really very optimistic about the future and about our progress of the company.
Brilliant. You beat me to it. I was going to say, instead of Tiger 2, change it to Ion. So why don't you change the name of the satellite? But that's a very nice touch. So a few more to come in the future.
Yes.
Excellent. So what we like to do, Omar, on the podcast is to get the story started. So we like to go back from the beginning. So let's over to you, really. How and why did you get into this wonderful industry?
Yeah, so, I've always been interested about space and space exploration since I was a child. So it's something I think you're just born with, I mean, as far as I remember, like 4 years old, I would look into magazines about space, all the space shuttle, rockets, airplanes, and all this. So, aviation, aerospace has been always something that started very early on to catch my attention. And as I grew, this has developed, and I put in my mind always that I want to, work in space. I want to go to space. Okay, so what's the best way that you can enter this field, what you want to do in it? So, either you become an astronaut or you really build, spaceships, satellites, rockets, wherever, or you just build them, sell them, be rich, and become an astronaut. So I thought I chose this path, and I said, okay, let's go this way. So that's why my parents wanted me to be a doctor, and I could enter the School of Medicine, but I decided to go to the School of Engineering. So I did my studies in electronics and telecommunication engineering, and then I got my master's from Germany in Bremen University, and I also did my MBA in the UK from Strathclyde Business School. And then it was an opportunity to start working at DLR, the German Aerospace Center, in space operations for spacecrafts. And that was really the start for me entering the space field.
Brilliant. Yeah, Bremen is a perfect location with DLR and likes of ESA and OHB. So fascinating. Excellent. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to hand you over to Tom now, because I know he's got some additional questions. Tom, over to you.
Thanks, Laurie. I've got to ask before we jump into these bits, does your son have a space-themed bedroom?
Not yet, but he has a NASA like baby, shirt, and he attended the launch, so he was there. So that I think that's a
Wow.
good start.
And he
He
has a
was brave
satellite
enough
named
to
after
be
him.
there.
Brilliant. So I'm going to jump into the past and everything that has got you and OQ to the point that it is now. So who has been your biggest influence during your career, Omar?
Yeah. So, of course, for me, it was always so starting from beginning, being the interest about science and physics and space was Albert Einstein, of course. I like really, he was, I followed his biography. I read a lot about his theories and about space and universe. But then as I got more specialized in the field of engineering and aerospace engineering, of course, Elon Musk is one of the big figures that I look at and at their career, how it developed, because this was really, I think, with his company SpaceX, that transition of private space that took place, because before space was mainly confined to, governments, military, big organizations, and with SpaceX, these things changed. So that's really was a very good time that this change has happened, and I think that what Elon Musk did also encouraged me also to jump into the space field and become independent and start business in this field.
Brilliant. Not bad people to look up to, that's for sure. Okay, what would you consider to be your greatest achievement to date?
Well, I believe OQ technology. This is I mean, the greatest achievement and the journey that we are taking, because we had a vision that mobile and satellite, the two industries, are going to come together, and we saw 5G as the technology that will be the standard that can extend into non-terrestrial networks like satellites, balloons, and drones. And we chose this technology and said we want to bring this into satellites and cover the whole Earth with 5G, whether it's broadband or for us, it's more machine-to-machine communication. And you see today the 3GPP and that standard is already also going this direction. So what we saw very early on in 2016 is becoming a reality today. And we were at the pioneer and at the very front in making this technology work, testing it in orbit, and now commercializing it. So this is really like, seeing your vision become a reality and seeing that the world is going also the same direction with your vision. So that's for me the biggest achievement.
And what an achievement. It must be quite satisfying to see your predictions come true. What was the biggest challenge in securing that achievement?
Yeah, so of course, if you ask any entrepreneur, they're going to tell the first challenge is funding. Of course, that's something we always have to live with. But of course, I mean, there are always like three main elements that need to be addressed, especially in this type of industry, is the funding, the talent, of course, and the regulatory field. I mean, this is something that we learned the hard way. A lot of companies, they just jump into the technology or even the business, but they forget about the regulatory field. I mean, that's very important, and it will come later, and then boom, suddenly. So we learned the hard way. I mean, we've been now 4.5 years, so we know how to navigate our way. And so there were difficult times, but we stood up and continued. And now you see where our first satellite is launched.
Brilliant. And the important thing is you've learned lessons from each of those instances.
Yeah.
And that's, it's just as important lessons learned as anything else that you're doing as part of this process. Brilliant. And then my final question, probably more broadly on the topic of the connectivity industry and everything associated with being connected. What do you think the industry can learn from its past?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest lessons learned is that the model of developing your own technology and your own hardware trying to build an ecosystem from scratch. This has been the trend always with the traditional satellite telecommunication industry, and we don't see this as the right approach. The problem is you still see new space companies and startups going still the same direction. The major difference, while in the mobile industry, no, they've been past that phase. Today you have standards, you have GSM, you have LTE, you have 5G, and everyone is using that. You have multiple operators, multiple chip vendors, multiple hardware and device manufacturers, they all following the standard. You can connect your sensor to your phone and your phone with that operator just by changing a SIM card. That's not the case with satellite, and that's what limiting the capital, the revenue, the extension of these services, and that's why satellite industry is expensive. The connectivity specifically, and also the hardware. Now, for us, we want to change this, really. We want to tap into an existing ecosystem that everyone understands, everyone uses, from North Pole to South Pole, from Australia to America to India, and that is really the mobile technology, and use that into our satellites, where our satellites act as cell towers in the sky and can connect users seamlessly, who will not feel whether you're connected to a terrestrial network or to a satellite network. And this is really a first time in the world, because mobile chips, they are very cheap and the connectivity is very cheap. Why? Because there have been millions of engineering hours and in really bringing that technology into a larger scale. And there are a lot of players and participants. There's an ecosystem. So a cellular chip will be like $4 or $5. If you compare this to the satellite technology, so each satellite operator will have his own chip, which might be starting cheapest like few $100s and up. That's not even the device. Now imagine that same $5 chip do the job of a satellite chip and already doing the job of a terrestrial. It's not something unheard of. So it's really going to open a lot of opportunities and allow access to a lot of users. It will enable mobility between terrestrial and satellite, and that will really funnel into real big data of massive machine communication, which is one of the biggest aspects of the 5G revolution.
Brilliant. Thank you for that insights in, what's been used today. And I think you're right, it's collaboration between the mobile and satellite industries is humongous for more global connectivity. Great. I'm going to pass you over to Laurie, who's going to take on the present day.
Yeah, and we've touched on it. Now that OQ have sort of launched the first 5G IoT satellite into orbit, again, huge congratulations to you and the team for that amazing achievement. I know there's a lot of hard work that's gone into it. So as a company, I've seen there's been several announcements, several milestones that you guys have achieved. You're now bringing everything closer to the goal of providing this commercial IoT and machine-to-machine services around the world. And obviously 5G connectivity is huge right now. So how do you see the current state of the market from that point of view?
So one thing just to mention, that this satellite we launched is our first kind of commercial satellite. We did actually test and demonstrate the technology in orbit in 2019 in our Tiger 1 mission using 2 LEO CubeSats. And that mission was with the European Space Agency and with Luxembourg Space Agency. So technology demonstration has been done 2 years ago. And also a year later, Inmarsat tested the same technology, but with a GEO together with MediaTek. So we were first to test that in LEO. With the market right now, I think it's the right moment actually for bringing 5G machine communication, addressing the different verticals that today a lot of solution providers suffer from the fact that with rolling out IoT solutions, there's a problem that it's fragmented. There are different technologies, different hardware. Interoperability is a problem, and really that's is one of the bottlenecks for the scalability of IoT. While with 5G machine communication through satellite, that's going to change. So we see this as the right moment, and in fact, that's already we have a huge pipeline of potential customers. We're already talking to huge companies like Fortune 10 and Fortune 15 companies, also oil and gas companies, where we want really to start bringing this service and testing it. So like customers are realizing the importance of that, and that there's a change now. Things are going to change. It's not going to be like, okay, I have to procure a separate satellite system. I have to procure a separate mobile solution. No, things are going to be seamless right now, and the applications that can be addressed are also tremendous, and that's why it's the right moment actually for this solution.
Yeah, I mean, timing, it's all about timing, isn't it? With a lot of this, and you see maybe companies that have had great vision, great ideas, great applications, or great offerings, but it is, like you said, all about the timing. And unfortunately, by the time it comes to fruition, it doesn't normally happen. So I don't know what's going on, but I mean, it seems like you've picked a perfect time to sort of launch. You've had the testing back in 2019, so. Yeah. I mean, must be huge opportunities. You talk about oil and gas, you've got utilities, you've got obviously a number of different offerings. So what excites you about that? I mean, the opportunities out there right now are unlimited, really. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, so it's really now time of execution. So we came that far. We we tested the technology. Now we want to roll out the service and the product and build that relationship with our customers, because one thing that we care about is really this customer relationship. We want to be very close to the end user and really educate them and help them to adopt that solution. And this is something that's very important for us, because you can have a service, you can have a technology, but if using an old model where you just rely on 2-tier or 3-tier distribution model and then not really care about the end user, it will be a bit of a risk with such a new technology. And that's why we want to be really close to the end users. And this is what we are excited about right now as we do our trials of the service with the customers. And in general, I mean, coming back to also the question about the market, you see now LEO constellations is taking a lot of interest, like whether it's narrowband or broadband, OneWeb and Starlink and all these other constellations. So and with OneWeb, you saw like now they came out of bankruptcy. So like the community, the people have learned the lessons and knew how to correct things and go the right direction. And again, that confirms that really this is the right time for this satellite telecom LEO market, narrowband or broadband to come true.
Brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, very exciting. So that sort of ties in nicely now onto the future, obviously with OQ technology. So Tom, over to you.
Where to start with the future, really? It feels like, given your big predictions for the future in the past, you might have a bit of an eye ahead that Laurie and I don't have access to. But what are your next big predictions for the industry?
Yeah, I think now as talking about that, the telecom industry, especially with this merging between mobile and satellites, we're going to see a trend. I mean, we are working on narrowband, but soon there's going to be also the trend going to 5G new radio and broadband, really bringing now the broadband connectivity to mobile phones through low Earth orbit satellites. And then you have the ultra low latency communication, because with 5G, you have the broadband, narrowband, but the ultra low latency communication for critical applications, like remote surgeries, online gaming, and others, and or critical alarms, control of drones, and smart cars. And with these coming, really LEO constellation is going to play a huge role. One bottleneck also is like the launch cost, but we see this is dropping with a lot of small launch providers coming into the market. So this is something we look at also very carefully, because that will allow us then to extend the infrastructure. We are not in the infrastructure business, but we have to be at this time. But it's, for us, one of the important aspects is really like constellation as a service or hosting our payload. So we don't want to continue, like at some point of time, we need to host payloads or host the software into other assets, other satellites that can provide the service to users. That's something which is today, I would say, still not very advanced, because especially with telecom payloads that require high power. If you compare the price of hosting to really building your own satellite, it's not a huge difference. So especially if you have both uplink and downlink and you need high power. And I think there's still much to be done in this area of hosting high power payloads or telecom capable payloads that need to be worked on to bring these prices down, so that companies like that don't need anymore, like, to build satellites, or they can host these payloads, or look into more agile and low cost micro satellites that can, host our payload, or we build such together with partners, such micro satellites. So I think this is also something we see, that more of the CubeSat manufacturer also, they're going into the micro satellite, because the demands, requirements of users are increasing. Also for us, like, we are not maybe things for doing things in VHF, UHF with very small messages. An asynchronous system for LoRa may work with a very small satellite, but if you want to go now into something reliable, something with bi-directional, and especially based on mobile, then you need more capability, especially also for security reasons. You have more signaling, more messaging, and for that you're gonna have to scale up a bit the platform, keeping still your price within normal levels. So this is, I think, something that there are like attempts from the industry to go there, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done. When we looked before into whether we launch our satellite or we host, it wasn't a big difference actually. So we just decided to launch our own satellite for that. And probably for Earth observation, small cameras, this model would still work. I mean, the price is still lower for hosting, but for telecom payloads, I think it's necessary to look into really microsatellites, or reduce the price of hosting for high power payloads.
Interesting, and I guess an increased appetite will start bringing down the cost of launch. Okay, in terms of the IoT industry specifically, you mentioned about anticipating an increased appetite for IoT from the consumer. What other evolutions and changes do you anticipate IoT having in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so when we talk about IoT, I mean, machine-to-machine communications existed since a very long time. Inmarsat, with their BGAN system, they were already addressing this type of communication. However, today what we see with satellite IoT, it's really focused on very specific applications, low size messaging, tracking, and it's kind of like IoT is really the low end of machine to machine, and machine to machine is the BGAN system with more data, BGAN M2M. I think that's going to change. I mean, users are going to start asking for more. They want more data, more access. Tracking is not enough anymore. They want more information because they want to run analytics. So that's going to drive kind of the bandwidth. It will put a pressure on the bandwidth. And here comes really the role of mobile technology. It's scalable, it's a synchronous system, it's very spectrum efficient, and that's why we use it. The moment customer are gonna start asking, I want maybe low resolution video, or I want not just the location of my container, but was it open, what's the temperature, what's the vibration, and so on. Once you have intelligence, like back and forth information and an edge computing, that's going to change. So I think a lot of satellite IoT offerings will fall short and cannot address that, while the traditional players will be well positioned to do this. And that's what we really need to address also. We just don't want to be on the low end of them on the machine to machine and IoT. We really want to go up higher in the amount of data, the quality of data that we can offer. And that's something we can address with mobile tech, because mobile technology is made for that. It's scalable. You have millions of users talking by phone.
Definitely.
So like the number of mobile users is much higher than the number of VSAT terminals in the world. So that's really the exciting thing, that making that work on low Earth orbit satellites.
Fantastic. We've ticked off past, present, and future. I'm going to pass you back to Laurie for something very important in the workplace, and that's diversity.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, Omar, this is something that obviously OQ Technology sort of pride themselves on, very diverse, multi-cultures. Obviously, you've got the offices in Luxembourg, and well, you're based in the US at the moment, so there's probably a lot that's going to be happening when it comes to growing up and scaling up. And it's a very challenging topic right now because there's so much buzz about the industry, and is trying to get the talent and trying to sort of attract the next generation into the industry. So really sort of keen to understand your views on diversity and where you see the gaps and maybe what can be done around that.
So you're right. We are a very diverse company. I mean, we don't have, if I think carefully, we may have maximum 2 people from same nationality, not more than that. Everyone else from a different country, different nationality. We are also diverse geographically. So we have an office in Dubai, in UAE, in Luxembourg, now in the US, in Africa and Rwanda, we have an office. So it's really very diverse, and that helps because, you know, you bring talent, you bring point of views from different backgrounds. And it's the nature also of the space industry. It's very international, very diverse. The challenge, as you said, is talent, especially with engineering and technical skills. This is something we still struggle to maintain and attract, because it's just somehow we feel there's a lack of enough engineers, you know, and that's why we are also trying through our geographical extension, trying, you know, to use the efforts that are available, attract people also to Luxembourg. We managed to create more than 15 jobs in Luxembourg just within the past 2 years, and in addition to the jobs outside. So and that number is bound now to be to increase. And however, as I said, this is one of the things that we are still trying to address with the help also of the network, the relationships, and hopefully that will change. I mean, I may use this platform to say that we do have a lot of open positions, and we're looking for people to join us. Of course, we are also very selective, so we really it's more the motivation that we care about rather than the qualification, because from what we saw, you can get people with a lot of experience, a lot of you know, skills, but if they are not motivated to work in a startup, then you know, probably there are younger people with motivation that can learn quicker and do things much faster. So motivation is very important. Working in startup is also different from working for a big corporate. There are huge differences, and that's why it's an exciting journey. It's a rewarding journey, and there are a lot of opportunities that can open up for individuals who decide to join an early stage startup company in space.
Brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it is all about the attitude, and what a journey you've been on. I mean, I think if we go back to your son, he must be the youngest ever to go to a live launch. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's
you know, bare feet also. It's like, oh, you got into the facility bare feet, and probably nobody did it.
Brilliant. Start them early. That's the way forward. So brilliant. Well, thanks for that, Omar, and yeah, really, really interesting. So okay, Tom, over to you now. More of the fun side of it.
Yeah, it's getting serious. Omar,
okay.
Talk to me about, describe from top to bottom your perfect weekend.
Okay. Well, some weekends I'm working, so practically there's no weekend. But right now things have changed also. So perfect weekend is really spending time with the family, going for a walk, going to a nice restaurant, or to a lake, and yeah, that's a perfect weekend for me. If I don't have to work.
Perfect weekend won't include work, I'm sure of it. restaurant choice? Where are you going?
I like more like Indian and Mexican food. My wife like more like sushi, so we have to find always a compromise or try to do that periodically. Yeah.
Sushi for lunch, curry for dinner.
Yeah.
Tacos for pudding. All right, it's Laurie's turn now.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're now the quick fire round. I mean, I think I already know this first one for this first particular answer to this question, but I've got 10 questions I'm going to fire at you. Quick answer, and some of them are going to sort of bring out some fascinating answers. So I can't wait for this. So let's start with the first one. So, triumphed in lockdown or failed in lockdown?
I can repeat that. I didn't.
Sorry, have you triumphed in lockdown or have you failed in lockdown?
I would say triumphed. Yeah, with what we achieved now, we triumphed. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, especially what's happened over the last 6-7 months. Okay, if you could live anywhere, where would it be?
Well, where my work will be, I would say.
Oh, that's a get out there. So, okay, favorite family vacation?
Something near the sea. I like the sea.
Yeah, very wise. Okay, what makes you laugh the most?
Caricatures, really. Looking at caricatures. Yeah. It makes it delivers a message that really makes me laugh. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, what's the last movie that you watched?
The last movie that I watched, it was a horror movie, The Conjuring. Yeah.
Oh, very scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sometimes I need to be, like to stay awake or get more excited, and I need a movie that can keep my adrenaline high.
I'll remember that when I'm going for my third coffee.
Brilliant. Favorite game or sport to watch or play?
I'm not much of a sports person. I mean, I do try to jogging, swimming, but I like to watch Formula sometimes.
Yeah.
I like to watch soccer if it's like a European Cup or World Cup. But that's it.
Yeah, let's not talk football right now because I'm still hurting from the European Cups.
Oh,
but yeah, moving on nicely.
It's a sensitive topic with sports. So.
Unless you're Italian. Okay, so moving on. What would you rather do? Ride a bike, ride a horse, or drive a car?
I drive a car. Yeah.
Excellent. Any particular car as a favourite or an ambition?
Electric car, Tesla. I think that's interesting.
They're all coming. They're coming thanks to Elon Musk. Okay. Now this is the one I'm looking for. What would you sing at a karaoke during a karaoke night? What is your song, your go-to song?
I would go for something from the past when I was a teenager, like BackStreet Boys.
Oh, classic.
Pleaser.
There we go. Yeah, a little bit cheesy. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, 2 more questions. I mean, Tom's already touched on it, but if you could eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Fish.
There we go. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, last one. Now this may change as your son becomes a little bit older, but Netflix or Disney?
Disney.
Yeah, some classics. Can't beat those. Brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Omar, really good to get that from you. I should have asked, what was the actual Backstreet song that you prefer? Which one? Any particular song or all of them?
Yeah, there was this one with the Larger Than Life, the robots one.
Oh yeah.
I sang that in Germany in the graduation party, in a karaoke, so I remember that. That's
all about memories. Brilliant. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, Omar,
that's very exciting, Laurie. Really, very exciting.
Don't you worry. I'm gonna remind you of that next time we see you. So in person, hopefully soon. Well, Omar, I'm going to pass you over to Tom now for one final question that we always ask people like yourself on this. So, Tom.
Yeah, always the same question for anyone that is guest appearing on our pod. So, what one piece of advice would you give to someone entering the industry?
Always trust yourself. So my experience is that, when you're just starting into this industry, you may say, okay, I may not have enough background. There are people, more experienced, that I can rely on. To some level, that's true. But in the end, the vision, the strategy, the decisions, you have to trust yourself and your gut feeling. And especially in this aspect, don't just rely on others just because they are more experienced, but you have to trust yourself that your decision, what you want to do, your vision is the correct one, and you'll be successful.
Brilliant. Good advice, not just for work, but also probably in most aspects.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, Omar, that's it. I mean, thanks so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure. Really been looking forward to this one. Again, just want to wish you and Neuco Technology all the very success, and hope you don't have too many sleepless nights. So some exciting times to come. Thank
you very much, Laurie and Tom. This is really exciting. I didn't expect it like that, but you really surprised me. So that's I'm very happy to be on this podcast, and also I wish you all the success also with your future endeavors, with these podcasts, with your business. And I look forward to seeing you soon also.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Right. Let me stop.